golden keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First, let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next, let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy light be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs and hands, hour after hour thy vigilance. Intense and keen, turned inward miss, no atom of analysis. Sixth, on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind, so like a flame straight and unscared, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy prolong, thy meditation steep and strong, slaying even God should he distract thy attention from the chosen act. Last, all these things in one are powered, time that the midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou wilt not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression, shoot thy glance to rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness. Here's to the heart, I leave thee here. Thou art the master I revere, thy radiance that rolls afar, O brother of the silver star, Crowley.
Give me the sign of the open eye, and the token erect of thorny thigh, and the word of madness and mystery, O pen, O pen, O pen, O pen, 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 pen. I am a man.
Do as thou wilt, as a great God can, O Pan. He, O Pan. He, O Pan. He, O Pan, Pan. I am awake in the grip of the snake.
The eagle slashes with beak and claw, the gods withdraw, the great beasts come, O Pan. I am born to death on the horn of the unicorn. I am Pan, O Pan, O Pan, 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 Pan. I am thy knight, I am thy man, goat of thy flock.
I am gold, I am God.
Flesh to thy bone, flour to thy rod. With hoofs of steel I race on the rocks, through solstice stubborn to equinox, and I rave, and I rip, and I rip, and I rant, everlasting, world without end. Mannequin, maiden, Maynard, man, in the might of Pan. Eopan, Eopan, Pan, Pan, Eopan, Eopan. Give me the sign of the open eye, and the token erect of thorny thigh, and the word of madness and mystery. I am a man. Do as thou wilt, as a great God can. Oh, I am awake. In the grip of the snake, the eagle slashes with beak and claw. The gods withdraw. The great beast calm me upon. I am born to death on the home of the unicorn. I am to thy rod, with hoofs of steel I race on the rocks, through solstice stubborn to equinox, and I rape, and I rape, and I rip, and I rend, everlasting world without end. I'm king, maiden, maynard, man in the might of and the token erect of thorny thigh, and the word of madness and mystery. Eopan, 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 pan, 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 pan.
as thou wilt, as a great God can. Oh, I am awake in the grip of the snake. The eagle slashes with beak and claw. The gods withdraw. The great beasts come, upon I am born. To death on the horn of the unicorn. I am Pan, Eopan, Eopan, Pan, 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 Pan. I am thy mate, I am thy man, goat of thy flock, I am gold, I am God, flesh to thy bone, flower to thy rod, with hoofs of steel I race on the rocks, through solstice stubborn to equinox, and I reap and I rape and I rape and I rend everlasting world without end. Manikin maiden Maynard man in the might of Pan. Eopan, Eopan, Pan, 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 Pan. Eopan, Eopan, Pan, 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 Pan. Eopan. God the eternal, he begets not and is not begotten.
Nor is there like unto him anyone. Unity,
with poor geography and
This is why earlier I said this is critical.
okay,
Make up for it. Put 2 lines under that. Make up for it.
That's right.
It's exactly the same question Emrys was asking earlier. How come we haven't changed and we're still doing the same thing in terms of conflict despite thousands of years?
Okay, Ambrose, you can take over because I have to handle my daughter now. But I assume you know where I'm going with this. Please complete it and help
Tell
me.
Natasha I said hi.
I will do.
Okay.
Okay, can we have a small commercial break? Mr. Bean, I want you to listen to Rolf and tell me who is speaking. Rolf, can you say something to Mr. Bean and don't tell him what I'm thinking?
Well, I mean, I'm from London and I'm really interested in politics and I follow the war on Iran and, I come on X Spaces sometimes and I'm a good friend of Emrose. She's very good people.
Who is it, Mr. Bean?
From London?
Who does he sound like?
Not Tony Blair.
Tony Blair.
Oh, come on, Bean, it's easy.
Sounds more like him than anything.
I guess
Hawes, he sounds like Hawes. He's like Hawes' twin.
I don't hear Hawes that much, so.
Oh, come on.
Hawes is not a.
Well, I tried, it didn't work.
No worries. I should have kept my name as Hawes.
Oh, actually, now I understand what it is. Basically, Rolf, a lot of the people outside of Britain
being of the nation and its people and being ready to support or serve it. Close quote.
I feel like the people who say that the actual conversation we're having is patriotism dying when we're speaking about Trumpism. I think the reason why you're getting that is because they're in a cult of personality, right? Where they think of Trump as Louis XIV, I am the state, right? Where if you don't have fealty to Caligula, you are somehow anti-American, right? So you don't have to like Trump or Trumpism. That has nothing to do with your level of patriotism.
Well,
you don't have
nobody
to
made
that
argument, though. The argument was whether the Democratic Socialists were anti-patriotic, not whether Trump was anti-patriotic. And Louis XIV and Caligula have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, actually, in one of the, in my opinion, one of the responsibilities is the wrong word, but being an American is all about questioning our leaders. Our Constitution, our Bill of Rights was made up primarily because our citizens do not trust the government. Our Constitution is based on the fact of checks and balances of the American citizens' lack of trust in the government. It's perfectly patriotic to question our leaders. But when you go to tear down the system, i.e. birthright citizenship, i.e. eviscerate the United States Senate, my humble opinion.
And the U.S. Supreme Court, Steve.
And the U.S. Supreme Court, thank you. That is unpatriotic.
They want to decimate all three branches. They want some sort of parliamentum in which the leader for the country is chosen out of the Congress, want a unicameral legislature, and they want the Supreme Court to be subservient to the legislature.
Yeah, so
I could even take it.
Hold on, come on, Steve. Steve, let me get in there, bro.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. So a re-envisioning of our branches of government and how our government operates is definitely not unpatriotic.
That's not re-envisioning concrete. That's it.
One second.
Well, let concrete finish. Let him finish.
Please, thank you. So you're not going to suss out whether or not somebody is patriotic by their ideas on how things should run in America, when obviously those ideas are based on the idea of continuing America in an improved way. So to categorize somebody as being unpatriotic because they think that there should be an alternate structure in our government is just like hand waving.
Well, then it wouldn't be America.
It's not an alternate America. It's not an alternate structure to figure out something in between it. It's a complete revamp of the U.S.
a revamp is still going to have America operating as a country, a nation, and the people.
Yes,
even if you think that the government should operate differently.
The founders never intended. The founders
put in means to change the system
in which you had mixed direct democracy and a oligarchic style Senate. He's also within executive
institute ways to change the system.
Constitutional amendments. Yes.
Okay, great.
So
that means that they understood that things could change, and in fact, because of the changing times and dynamics, sometimes they should change, could change, and should change. So
I don't think
these aren't illegal. Even if it were by means of like illegal means, you still wouldn't say unpatriotic, because the people that founded the nation engaged in illegal activities for the founding of the nation.
Sure, but these people openly advocate for at least some of them that are bringing down the destruction of the United States from within. These people are anti-American, and I also. It's been this way for well over a century, but generally people today, I think the Democrat socialists are kind of like LARPer left-wing populists, but throughout history, they're generally pretty much against nationalism and any kind of national patriotism. In fact, that's really been their enemies. They went against the moderates, and of course, they went against the right wing throughout history. So to say that they can be patriotic, no, they want to break down all of these hierarchical structures and having a nation that to be proud of and its people. They think that like, oh, they see that as in a way as oppressive and as otherizing other groups of people. These people want to completely open up our fucking borders too. They've said that. They're not for America.
They also want to eliminate the police departments as well.
Yeah, I don't think these approaches, this approach to like categorizing your opponent that you disagree with in the like worst light possible, like pointing to the most unhinged,
the most accurate light,
pointing to the most unhinged aspects of the group. I don't think that's very helpful.
Black and white.
I don't think that's helpful if you ever hope to like have a meeting of the minds. And that in and of itself is something that would help the furtherance of the country, right? To have a meeting of the minds of the opposing sides to come to like some form of agreement and not this painting your enemy in the worst light possible.
That's what elections are.
To rile up the base, right? I think it's very lazy. I think it's very anti-intellectual, and I think it doesn't benefit anybody. And you don't like it when they do it. You don't like it when they just paint you as racist dummies, right? Unintelligent, racist dummies. You don't like that. So why engage in the same type of rhetoric?
When people
over simplistic rhetoric.
But nobody's doing that. That would be wrong if
exactly
you were saying all lefties are radicals. But it's like saying, well, the DSA has always been kind of radical, just like the Nazis have. Most would say they're radical, even though not all right wingers are. So no, it's pretty fair to label them a certain way because of what they've said and what they've done. And look, they were very active, particularly in the 60s. You can look at what they were even saying back then. This is not a moderate or, in my opinion, sensible group of people.
Why do you guys think they're gaining traction?
I think they're gaining traction because they're signing up new voters 18 to 34. And I think the 18 to 34 age group is more about rich paying more taxes so they can get more services and don't have to work so much. And there's also a sense of entitlement. Everybody's entitled to a home. Everybody is entitled to a universal income. Everybody is entitled. Everybody is entitled. Everybody is entitled. And again, it's just my opinion. Everybody is not entitled.
Gives us more socialistic leaning candidates, in particular wealth inequality and inability to make a living wage. That for people will make them radical every time and twice on Sunday. So I think what Steve said plus what I said.
Steve, just a quick question. You said that you don't think that everybody should be able to live in Manhattan or Beverly Hills. Do you think it's?
I said, everybody does not have a right to do. I didn't say. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yes. Do you think it's normal to multiple cities and large metro areas where someone who is like of median income can't afford to live anywhere in the metro?
Well, that's just the point. I don't believe that is the case.
You don't think it's the case that there are cities where you can't live anywhere in the metro unless you make a lot of money?
I think it's the case where not everybody can afford to live in the best parts of the city. We can take Los Angeles, for example, and I pointed out Beverly Hills, but there are, which of course is one of the most, if not the most expensive place to live in Los Angeles, but there are 4 million people living in the city of Los Angeles, 11 million in the county. There are absolutely places in Los Angeles where people can afford to live. You want a specific example? You can get a 2-bedroom apartment for $2,000 a month. You can get a 1-bedroom apartment for $1,000 to $1,500 a month. But they're not in the best places in Los Angeles. I mean, the best places you're going to pay $4 or $5 grand for a 1-bedroom.
Wait, you can get a 1-bedroom for that little in Los Angeles? You cannot get it for that little in Boston. I'll tell you that.
Same thing is true for New York. If you have moderate income.
I would say that
The worst, like a house in the worst neighborhood in Boston will run you like $500K and need a ton of work. $600K.
I would say that Steve's position is anti-American. The level of antipathy.
You think my position is anti-American?
The level of antipathy towards your fellow Americans, that they don't deserve to work hard and have their own home, and to be constantly.
That is not what I said. That's not what I said.
That's definitely what you implied, that they don't deserve to. They don't have the right to own a home. It's insane. That type of callousness is what's wrong with this country. When Americans who made.
Can I repeat what I said before, and then you can criticize me? Let me repeat what I said. Okay. Nobody has the right to own a home in the best in location. Okay. Everybody has the right to own a home as long as you can work for it and pay for it. Nobody has the right to be given a home, but everybody has the right, as I said, to have a roof over your head, food over the table, and like that. But nobody has the right to own a home in Beverly Hills.
I don't know, man. I just looked it up. The median rent for a 1-bedroom in Boston is $3,000 to $4,000.
Yeah, but remember I said we weren't talking the median. We were talking you could find a place, not the median.
No. But I mean that means that like there's probably almost no places that are 1,000. Right? That's so far away from.
I did say 50. I did say 1,500 to 2,000. Right?
I mean that'd be hard to find.
I mean, Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, there's places in the Midwest perhaps, but in major metropolitan, even here in Phoenix, where we were known for being pretty affordable. I mean, I think it'd probably be around the 2,500 range. But like the East Coast cities, the major cities like Boston and New York City, I mean, what did you say? It's about 3 to 4.
It's 3 to 4 for a 1-bedroom. And you also have to factor in that like this. We're not talking about like kids who just graduated from college. A 1-bedroom is not big enough if you have kids, right? It's just and like boomers did not do that, right? They were not in 1-bedrooms with their kids, like by and large.
Well, the street that I live on, there are 800 square foot houses for well over $1 million.
You have to compare the median income to then the median rent, right? Who can afford this $3,000 a month? What kind of income do they have to have? And is that close to the median?
No, those are no working class kids can afford. Kids that didn't
Can I address the point that Steve made? Because I got moved down and overtalked because he didn't like what I was saying. It's really simple. You're a weirdo, as usual.
Thank you.
Listen, you interrupted me.
Thank you. Michaela, want to say that again? Because that was a good point.
Yeah, I think you have to compare the median income to the median rent for whatever area you're looking at.
That's a brilliant point.
Yeah, you need to make 90K in order to afford 3,000 a month.
Right.
That's assuming no kids, right? Yeah, that's not that like the average kid who didn't go to college, which is most kids, cannot afford a 3,000 a month rent. They can afford 2,000.
So the kids are all living with their parents, is that?
Yes. In fact, actually, in my neighborhood where I grew up, there are a bunch of kids who I grew up with on my street who are still living in their bedrooms and have their children in the same house they grew up in.
Wow.
Yeah, they can't afford to live anywhere in the metro. They couldn't if you don't go to college.
About the half a dozen people that you know, but I would say that there are people living in Boston, New York, and Los Angeles at every level of income and at every level of housing. So it is
Boston is.
All right, now let me ask Adam. Let me ask Adam a question. And Adam, I've been to Boston twice in my life. I know that is your wheelhouse. In your opinion, do you think everybody in the country, if they wanted to, has a right to live in Boston? And I don't mean 300 million people all converging on Boston.
Who is making this argument?
Let me rephrase. Does anybody in the country who wants to live in Boston, do they have an absolute right to live in Boston?
Who is making this argument?
The way I'll answer this, Steve, is when you were growing up and when you were an adult, when you turned 20 and 25, any person could in fact have lived in Boston. It was in fact affordable, right? So it's rich for people who didn't have to do this. It's not like you guys had to do this, right? Like you guys definitely didn't have to live in the times where you needed to have a graduate degree to find out.
I think your answer is no, right?
This is so in the 90s.
No,
I'm interrupting you, Norvo.
In the 90s and the
I'd love to hear Adam just for a minute or two. I'd love to hear Adam respond.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the 90s and 2000s, a person who was, if you went to undergrad, you could certainly live in Boston and New York and not be super strapped in terms of your income. You could live in the nicest places, obviously. I'm not saying that, right? But you could afford it. Like neither of my parents went to college, and they both own their home. No person who doesn't go to college now is buying a home in Boston. Period.
Well, can I ask
Start making enough money. There's no way.
Adam, can I ask? My dad's from there. I've been to Boston several times. I've been there since the early 2000s. I did hear that, like for example, Southie. My dad grew up in the north end, or whatever you call it, and had family in Revere. I remember Revere was supposedly a lot more affordable.
And that's one of the places that I stayed right near the beach. Love Revere.
So I'm just curious. It's my understanding. Is it true that like Southie, a lot of the lower income kids, and then like they bulldoze a lot of that shit down and put like really expensive real estate there? And is it affordable like Revere?
No, Revere is not affordable either. Median home price in Revere is $600K. I just looked it up. Right. So Revere is like the stereotype is it's like a poor area. Dude, the poorest parts of Boston have median home prices of like $500,000. I'm trying to tell you. You can't just say, well, you can go to a bad neighborhood and live there. It used to be an option. It is not an option now. You cannot just buy in a bad neighborhood. The bad neighborhood is expensive too.
This is just not accurate. This is like you're just making this up, Matthew. No,
It's not as expensive as a nice neighborhood.
There are people at every income level right now living in your city of Boston.
Yes, but those people, those people own homes though. But those
There are
people own
people
homes.
at every income level living in New York.
Yes, the people
People at every income level living
in rent subsidized apartments. Those income mix.
It sounds like you don't have really a point.
No, I'm making my point just fine.
I don't think you made any point.
I am. I'm speaking to
You
Steve.
think everybody has a right to live in Boston? No, they don't.
The difference is that the people you are talking about are incumbents.
I'm not talking about any
A lot of in Boston, a lot of the people who don't make a lot of money who live in the cities, they own their own homes, so they're insulated from housing costs. They don't rent. Right? They don't rent.
There are poor people, middle income people.
Yes, and a lot of the poor people are in projects, so they have their rent subsidized, right? But this isn't the same as like an individual trying to come in. Right? They couldn't make a go of it now unless they make a lot of money. Right? So that's the end. I think people understand my point.
I don't think you understand your point.
What has caused the cost of housing to go up?
I got what you were saying, Adam.
Well, that one's easy. It's called supply and demand.
That's right. If people are paying these higher prices, if they can't afford it, the prices are going to come down.
The thing that's making the costs go up is that we've had in all of the major cities a massive influx of industry, which used to have like the suburban office park as the center of the organization of corporations. In a lot of the major cities, the companies have moved back directly into districts, and there's simply not as much housing in the cities as there used to be. So like Boston's like 100K off its maximum number that it ever had in like the 40s, even with the housing being so expensive today.
Yeah, but it's not just in the major cities. The cost of housing is almost out of reach.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Two houses. One, I bought a house for $1 million on the oceanfront, and 4 years later, I doubled my money and sold it for $2 million. The house I'm in now, I bought for $1 million, but now I'm only on a creek, and it's only worth. It took 20 years to be doubled. It took 20 years.
I also think it's the fact that we're in a situation where, you know how like people present the graph that says that the middle class is shrinking, and it's because a significant share of what would have been middle class has moved into the upper middle class. I think that's correct, but I think the way that they're kind of fact that means that then over middle class people, the ones who didn't move up because they the upper middle class, they just totally displace the leftover remnants of the middle class, and they can fill up entire metros in a way that wasn't true before, right? So the housing becomes very bifurcated, and the peak of the upper middle class income are simply outcompeted.
And I would argue that the middle class is not disappearing, it is widening. That the middle class is just becoming bigger. And by the way, if somebody's going to ask, and I will tell you that my understanding, the definition of the middle class is that which makes two-thirds of the median income at the low end and twice the median income at the high end. So at the start of this year, if memory serves correct, that would be between $60,000 and $200,000 a year is the middle class, which bolsters my opinion that the middle class is widening, not disappearing.
But the difference is like people who make 60K can't live in the same neighborhoods as people who make 200K, right? Like
unless you're a two-income family. And you have two people making 60K, then that's 120K.
Also, some cities provide for things like affordable housing, so they give people who have limited income housing in the same buildings where they're charging people full time. That's a big New York feature.
Steve
Yes.
is wrong, right? Like people
Okay,
who
all right.
on 60K don't live on 60K, they live on 120K. They're not 60K income, just mathematically, right?
Yeah,
So, kind of definitionally, we're not talking about the same people.
Well, all I can say is this. Look, what's the average income today?
Somewhere around 60K. 67,
fair,
somewhere around that.
Fair enough. Okay, fine. Okay, all right. You know, $25 an hour, 40 hours a week is 50K. That's $25 an hour at 2,000 hours. That's 50K. Two-income family, that's 100 grand. You know, it is what it is.
Wait, most people don't make 50K as a single earner.
Yeah, you said they make 60K.
No, I said they make 60K as a family income. Right.
Well,
the average income as an individual earner is like 35K.
Are you sure about that?
Positive, yes, positive. Median income in the United States for a family is like, or for a household is like, it's like 70K.
Okay, all right. If you say so.
Where are you?
foremost showed. I adore the might of thy breath, supreme and terrible God, who makest the gods and death to tremble before thee. I adore.
Not is not begotten, nor is there like unto
keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs in hands, hour after hour thy vigilance. Intense and keen turn inward, miss no atom of analysis. Sixth, on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. So like a flame straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy prolong thy meditation steep and strong. Slaying even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen act. Last, all these things in one are powered, time that the midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression, shoot thy glance to rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness. Pierce to the heart, I leave thee here. Thou art the master I reveal. Thy radiance that rolls afar, O brother of the silver star. Krali, ha ha. There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm,
to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity.
Watch every thought that springs, enhance hour after hour thy vigilance, intense and keen, turned inwardness. No atom of analysis, fixed on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind.
So like a flame, straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word.
Next, still that ecstasy prolong, thy meditation steep and strong.
Slaying even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen act.
Blast all these things in one or power. Time that the midnight blossom flowered.
The oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss.
If thou restrain the expression, shew thy glance to rapture's darkling root.
Discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness.
Pierce to the heart, I leave thee. Thou art the master I revere, thy radiance that rolls afar. O brother of the silver star. Crowley.
Give me the sign of the open eye, and the token erect of thorny pine, and the word of madness and mystery. Oh, Pan, Eopan, 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 Pan, 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 I am a man. Do as thou wilt, as a great God can, oh, Pan. Eopan, 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 Pan, I am awake in the grip of the snake. The eagle slashes with beak and claw, and God's withdrawn. The great beast comes. Eopan, I am born to death on the horn of the unicorn. I am Pan. with hooves of steel I race on the rocks, through solstice stubborn to equinox. And I rave and I rave and I rip and I rend, everlasting world without end. Mannequin, maiden, 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 in the mind of Pan. Eopan, Eopan, Pan, Pan, Eopan. Eopan.
There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs enhance, hour after hour thy vigilance, intense and keen, turned inward miss no atom of analysis. Sixth, on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. So like a flame, straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy, prolong thy meditation, steep and strong, slaying even God should he distract thy attention from the chosen Last, all these things in one o'erpowered, time that the midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression, shoot thy glance to rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness. Pierce to the heart, I leave thee here. Thou art the master I revere. Thy radiance that rules afar, O brother of the silver star. Pray.
There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First, let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next, let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow,
so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm.
Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound.
Fifth, sense, observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs, enhance. Hour after hour, thy vigilance.
Intense and keen, turned inwardness, no atom of analysis. Sixth on one thought, securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind.
So like a flame, straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy prolong, thy meditation steep and strong. Slain even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen act.
Past all these things in one are powered, time that the midnight blossom flowered.
The oneness is yet even in this. My son, thou shalt not do amiss.
If thou restrain the expression, shoot thy glance to rapture's darkling root.
Discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness.
Yes, to the heart I leave thee here. Thou art the master I revere. Thy radiance that rolls afar, O brother of the silver star.
Give me the sign of the open hand, token erector, thorny thigh, and the word of madness and mystery. You come, you come. As thou wilt, as a great God can I am awake in the grip of the snake. The eagle slashes with beak and claw, the gods withdraw, the great beasts come. You plan, I am born to death on the horn of the unicorn. I am I am thy mate, I am thy man, bought of thy flock, I am gold, I am God, flesh to thy bone, flower to thy rock, with hoofs of steel I race on the rocks through solstice stubborn, to
I was paid $108 a month. I remember it very good.
Is there still rent control in New York?
There still is rent control in New York and rent stabilization. Yep. There's not only that, there's also affordable housing. So if you're an immigrant, like the cab driver or Uber driver I had the other night, you put your name on a list, and over time, you get to live in affordable housing in a beautiful area with all kinds of services. There were also things like Sky Town and Peter Cooper Village that were created by insurance companies to make affordable park-like spaces for working-class families. So, yes, New York is an interesting juxtaposition of rich and poor and middle class. So I'm not saying that people are not concerned about.
Yeah, but it's hard to compare the rest of the country to New York. It's in the same way that it's hard to compare the rest of the country to Houston or Los Angeles.
Definitely. I agree.
Well, all I mean by it's harder to compare is because it's so big, because there are so many industries there. If you look at where I live and you were to compare it to Houston, there are just a lot of different things. Like we have more working class people live in the Big Green Valley than I would say make up a good part of Houston. Right? About 3.5 million people, something like that. And Houston's got a couple million people in it. Just the bigger cities, while they're very diverse, very business centered.
East to the great gate, being 18 1 and 1 in 8. First let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Observing thus thou mayst abort the fitted babes that tease the thought. Next let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that
specific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, sway softly as a windless spark. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs, enhance hour after hour thy vigilance. Intense and keen and goodness, know as another madness is. Sixth, on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. Soar like a flame straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy prolong, thy meditation steep and strong, slaying even God should he distract thy attention from the chosen act. Lost all these things in one are powered, time that the midnight blossom flowered, the oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression, should thy glance to rapture's darkling room. Discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness, pierce to the heart I leave thee here, thou art the master I revere. Thy radiance that rose afar, oh brother of the silver star.
Give me the sign of the open eye and the token erect of thorny thigh and the word of madness and mystery. Oh, Granny, oh, Granny, oh, Granny, oh, Pan, 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 I am a man. Do as thou wilt, as a great God can, oh Paddy, oh Paddy, oh Paddy, oh Pan, 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 I am awake. In the grip of the snake, the eagle slashes with beak and claw, the gods withdraw, the great beast come me, oh Pan, I am born. I am a man who was the wilt as a great God can open your pan, your pan, your pan, pan. I am away in the grip of the snake. The eagle slashes with beak and claw. The gods withdraw. The great beast comes. The open. I am born to death on the horn of the unique. I am pan, your pan, pan, pan.
I am gold, I am God, flesh to thy bone, flower to thy rod, with hoops of steel I race on the rocks to solstice, stubborn to equinox, and I rave, and I rave, and I rip, and I rend, everlasting world without end, mannequin, maiden, maided man, in the might of Ariopan. There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in one and 1 in 8. First, let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next, let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow. So let thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy light be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs and hands, hour after hour thy vigilance. Intense and keen, turned inward miss, no atom of analysis. Sixth, on the thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. So like a flame straight and unscared, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy prolong, thy meditation steep and strong. Slay even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen act. Last, all these things in one all-powered, time and the midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression, shoot thy glance to rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness. Here's to the
slashes with beak and claw. The gods withdraw, the great beasts come your pan. I am born to death on the horn of the unicorn. I am I am thy knight, I am thy man, gold of thy flock, I am gold, I am God, flesh to thy bone, flower to thy rod, with hoofs of steel I race on the rocks, through solstice stubborn to equinox, and I rave, and I rip, and I rip, and I rant, everlasting, world without end. Mannequin, maiden, maiden, man. In the might of Pan. Be your Pan, be your Pan, 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 be your Pan, be your Pan. Give me the sign of the open eye and the token erect of thorny thigh and the word of madness and mystery.
Erect of thorny thought, and the word of madness and mystery. Open, I am to us the wilt as a great God can. I am awake in the grip of the snake. The eagle slashes with beak and claw. The
There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in one and 1 in 8. First let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs in hands, hour after hour thy vigilance, intense and keen turn inwardness, no atom of analysis. Sixth, on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. So like a flame straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy prolong thy meditation steep and strong. Slaying even God should he distract thy attention from the chosen act. Last, all these things in one are powered, time that the midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression, shoot thy glance to rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness. Pierce to the heart, I leave thee here. Thou art the master I reveal. Thy radiance that rolls afar, O brother of the silver star. Crummy, ha-ha. There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thus thou mayst adore the fidget babes that tease
let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great seas, Pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm.
Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity.
Watch every thought that springs, enhance hour after hour thy vigilance, intense and keen, turned inwardness. No atom of analysis, fixed on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind.
So like a flame, straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word.
Next, still that ecstasy prolong, thy meditation steep and strong.
Slaying even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen act.
Last all these things in one or power, time that the midnight blossom flower.
The oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss.
If thou restrain the expression, shew thy glance to rapture's dark moods.
Discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness.
Pierce to the heart, I leave thee. Thou art the master I revere, thy radiance that rolls afar. Oh, brother of the silver star. Really? Give me the sign of the open mind, and the token erect of thorny vine, and the word of madness and mystery. Open, Eopan, 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 fan, 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 I am a man. Do as thou wilt.
solstice stubborn to equinox, and I rave and I rape and I rip and I rend, everlasting world without end. Mannequin, maiden, in the mind of Pan.
There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe its entity. Watch every thought that springs enhanced, hour after hour thy vigilance, intense and keen, turned inward miss no atom of analysis. Sixth, on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. So like a flame, straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy, prolong thy meditation, steep and strong. Slaying even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen end. Last, all these things in one o'erpowered, time that the midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression, shoot thy glance to rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness. Pierce to the heart, I leave thee here. Thou art the master I revere. Thy radiance that rules afar, O brother of the silver star.
There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First, let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next, let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow,
so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm.
Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound.
Fifth, let the thought divinely free from sense observe
of analysis. 6 on one thought securely pinned. Still every whisper of the wind.
So like a flame, straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word.
Announced that there is just one party, they call it, enforce its rest of his of Iranians party name. So Shah had one party system and every Iranian has to. So Shah politically wasn't what a lot of people would do.
I don't disagree with you on this. I can't argue with you on that. I remember, but the Ayatollah promised was a big lie. He promised a revolution that would care for the people, that would promote freedom, that would give the kinds of things that you and I both love, democracy and rule-based order and free trade. And what he brought instead was a insane, apocalyptic, genocidal, expansion, imperialistic.
But on August 19th,
Yeah, I was and the weekend they orchestrated the coup.
Let me read it. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, I was speaking. On August 19th, 1953, somebody do the math, that's 76 years ago, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, and British Intelligence, MI6, orchestrated a coup d'etat codenamed Operation Ajax and Operation Boot that overthrew
not accurate.
I'm just reading history, sir.
No, you're reading Wikipedia. And the word is correct. That's not history.
I'm just reading the history that overthrew Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammed Mossadegh. I can't say his name correctly. Yeah, thanks. Okay. The joint operation strengthened the absolute rule of pro-Western monarch Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The coup happened because the Prime Minister, Mossadegh, nationalized Iran's oil industry in 1951, cutting out the British-controlled Anglo-Iranian oil company, later known as British Petroleum. I'll land.
Yeah, but that was in the year 1953. Already disturbed, by the way. That was in the year 1953. And Iran had a democracy. Well, so this is Northern Races off the parliament. No, they had a democracy. They had a democracy. You're wrong, sir. You're wrong, sir. The Prime Minister is wrong. You're wrong. They put the Shah of Iran in charge. He was already in charge. No, he wasn't in charge. He was not already in charge before that. No, he represented a separate
political
No,
party.
no, no, no.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
He was
we
in Mara.
took the Shah for the coup, right? And there was a fight about like who controls the government. So when the coup, like when the first coup failed, when he left Iran, it kind of gave him more power.
When who left Iran?
The Shah. So the Shah, at the time, the Shah and Mossadegh, they left Iran. So when they left,
What year was that?
it gave them a little more power.
What year was that?
This was, I guess it was, he said August 19th, 1953, but this was, I think.
When the Shah took office over the country,
He was already in office.
Yeah, but he was in office outside. He was in office outside of what Iran actually had. You gotta understand that. No, that is correct because America, the country I was born in, was trying to confiscate all their oil. Point blank.
No, they didn't
Yes, they did. Yes, they
They
did.
did not confiscate.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Them and the UK. You are in Akron. You know what I'm saying? You've been trying to pay. You gotta understand that I've been under your oppressor, people that look like you. Caucasian. You know, yes, I do understand this. No, I do understand this. You know what I'm saying? The fact is that I even shouldn't be speaking English right now. Because I was under another culture and another language. Point blank. This guy is trying to give America a clean bill of what they're trying to do.
Clean bill, but I think you got it fucked up. The Shah existed before the coup. You do understand that, right?
Say that the Shah didn't exist, but he wasn't in full power.
Right. So the fight was who actually controlled the government.
Right, and then America, along with the UK, made sure that the Shah of Iran, because it would be more conducive for America to be able to get the oil. Because it wasn't, you gotta understand that America was already over there, like the Shah of Iran did exist. You know what I'm saying? But they were over there to get the oil. That's the whole point.
That part of what you were saying, it doesn't matter. The Shah, she is correct that the Shah
I did not understand that because I'm saying that I'm in denial of that.
No.
The Shah of Iran in 1953 was not in total control. In 1952 and 1951, he was not in total control.
1953 is when they went after.
So what I was trying to say, if you just let me say it, she is correct, Shoot, that he had fled the country and then returned to power, but you are correct in that the Shah was not in total control of Iran by any stretch of the imagination, and that it was a coup for oil, which is the reason over the past, this was 73 years ago, and 73 years, the amazing thing, 73 years ago today, we were fighting over oil, and still to this day, we are in the Middle East fighting, raping, and killing and pillaging people over oil. It was completely amazing.
This is not accurate at all. And I'm surprised that you don't like your
So let's look at history, because I love history, right? Because history is 2020 in hindsight. This was billed as the worst decision in United States history, the decision that Eisenhower made. This is history. This ain't got nothing to do with Clubhouse. These are reports and studies that analyze what was made. It was a bad decision. It was a bad decision.
Which decision?
His whole decision, everything he made regardless of the project. I'm sorry?
Which decision are you referring to?
All of the decisions regarding the debacle that we're in today, about how it started, its genesis.
For the good things in that.
Look, I can't, bro, I'm moving around. I ain't gonna go back and forth. I'm making my factual statements. I'm bouncing in and out.
Okay.
Like,
who made a bad decision?
Eisenhower.
Because I don't think anybody here is actually coming with good. Like, I don't think none of y'all have good faith. Maybe Trent does, and he may not be.
But yeah, I know the story. It's Operation Ajax and Operation Boom. We talked about it for quite some time. They were actual operations. We didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, we all know that.
Yeah.
We went past that, man.
No. This is the part that El Normo is denying, and I'm agreeing with Rambo. It was a terrible decision. It was a terrible decision because this is not the only place we're being interdicted in. But it was a terrible decision to go and overthrow democratically elected governments for our own good, for our own gain.
Well, we didn't do that. We didn't do it supporting the Shah. We supported the legitimate makeover of the country.
Okay, wait. So the support for Shaw came from Mossadegh nationalizing oil. Because remember, Britain had a play in their oil market. So once he nationalized it, similar to something that Venezuela tried to do. Once he nationalized it, it became a problem for the UK. So then the UK says, I'm gonna fucking put sanctions on this goddamn country. Then I'm gonna talk to my homeboys in the US. We're gonna figure this shit out. Because we want our money. So like I don't know why El Normo said that it wasn't about
No, I said it wasn't the coup. What they read from Wikipedia, that was completely wrong. No, it wasn't. Because the constitutional right, the Shah dismissed Mossadegh, and he has the constitutional right to do so.
The documents that have been declassified by the American government.
Yeah.
Hold on. The documents from the the documents that have been
I'll tell you why. Because the Shah, under the Constitution, listen to my point. See if you agree.
Okay, we all can't talk at once.
So the Shah had the constitutional right to dismiss Mossadegh, and he did so. That is not a coup, sir.
Documents from the American government and the people that were in charge of the time, say in their own biographies, in our own their own volition that this was. We have names.
According to what document is that, sir? What document is
of the operation that did it. Hang on,
which document is that? What's the document?
I think the order. Sorry. Just
I'm not done speaking.
I'm sorry.
And to Patty's point, we just witnessed the same thing happen in Venezuela over oil. And I'll end.
But okay, so let's say he could have done it, they done it in the past. During that time, like you can't say they were an absolute monarchy. They weren't an absolute monarchy. So I don't. Maybe some of us need to Google this shit, but I don't think they were an absolute monarchy at the time because I remember seeing the videos where he actually kicked himself and then said like, "Weren't y'all like Democrat monarch?" I don't know, some shit like that. But I don't think y'all were an absolute monarchy back then, so I don't think that it would have been. I don't think that was legal. I'm not saying it wasn't, but the prime minister didn't he have to get voted in, right? So it would be more of like a constitutional.
Yeah, and the Shah was not.
You're not gonna talk over her.
Where can I go?
And that's when transition
was, hold on, my point was that during the 1951, 52, and even into 53, it was a democracy. There wasn't no monarch. It didn't become a monarch until the Shah of Iran got control of it. And then it became a monarch for 20 plus years until they overthrew the Shah of Iran. By who? There's no record. There was no record. Point to it. Point to it. Okay? I'ma go look it up. I'ma go look.
And she's right. So I think the Shah might have been, it's just I'm saying think. I think he might have been mimicking what happened in the past, but that was, I don't think this was legal. We can't hear you. Speak up, Eva. It might be, you're on Bluetooth. Stop by the machine
I checked right now, and the order from Isaac Operation Ajax, according to the classified documents, has been signed June 53, and Parliament was dismantled by Mustafa in August 52, and the Farman, I say in English, the decree, the royal decree to get rid of Mustafa was in early August 53. So, I mean, if we remove the time stamp from the events, then we can portray or come up with any story that we want. But there has been a plot by Americans and Brits to overthrow democratically elected government. Shock fled the country after the first attempt. Got kind of because when actually let me put it this way. Let me organize my thing this way. Why it is true? Because we had constitutional monarchy, and after that we had this absolute monarchy. We had ordinary people going to parliament and becoming prime minister through a system of the parties and the various parties in the country, and we didn't have that after. Mustafa was replaced by a 4-star general after. So it quacks like a coup, it swings like a coup, and it swings like a coup. So it's a coup, it's a dog.
Again, this is not really accuracy, because it was Mossadegh who was installing himself as the absolute authority and nationalizing the oil, which again is going to cause a problem to the people who developed the oil in your country. He didn't make a deal; he just tried to steal the oil. That isn't going to fly. I'm sorry.
I would like to read.
No, you're going to read after Tia speaks. Like, I don't know what's going on here.
No problem.
He didn't give them away. He made a deal. They get money, and the people who take the oil get money. It wasn't giving it away. Remember, they didn't have the ability to extract the oil. That's why people allow American and British companies, Dutch companies in, because they don't have the technology to extract the oil. If they knew how to do it, they would have done it without the U.S. and Britain and the Netherlands.
speak now? May I speak now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. In regards to what you're saying now, that is true, and they may not have the equipment. But let me read what I have come across. My question was there a democracy? This is my first question. In Iran during the 51 to 53. This says yes. Iran had a parliamentary constitutional system led by the democratically elected prime minister.
Then he dissolved the power.
Excuse me.
Then he dissolved the power.
Okay. My sister, how come you don't say something when you come to interrupt me? Okay, Prime Minister Mohammed Mossadegh. However, it was fragile and tense constitutional monarchy facing severe economic pressures from the British. You can add the US to that because they did it, from the British oil embargo and a tense political power struggle between Mossadegh and the Shah Mohammed Reza Pahlavi. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why you had that is that the Shah was siding with the US and with British. You know what I'm saying? So all the sanctions and everything else that was coming in is going to be against the prime minister at that particular time. But all the prime minister was requesting is that, hey, if you want to come and deal and, bring your equipment up and dig up in the oil, at least let it be of some beneficial. 50%, I heard it. Excuse me. Shut the hell up, man. You're going to get your turn to speak. 50% at least national for the people that was a part of the nation. That's what all that was. And because they refused, that's when you had the so-called coup, and they put the Shah of Iran. So now, instead of sharing the oil at 50% with the nationals, they didn't have to do that. Point blank. And that's all I'm saying. So the Shah of Iran came into power. I'm not saying that he didn't have some power, because I read to you that there was a tense going back and forth. But the only reason why it was intense is because America and British already had certain elements within Iran already. And the prime minister was saying, well, let's hold up here. I mean, you're taking everything and you're not giving nothing back. That was the whole problem. So they went through this whole situation with the Shah of Iran once he got full power, right? Because, the United States and British have a way in which they can give arms, they can put sanctions on the government, and so forth and so on. That's how they squeeze. Example of that, Venezuela. You know what I'm saying? So my point is that it would change, the climate would change, the political climate would change when Shah Iran. That's when all of Iran became a full monarchy, and he ruled for like 20 plus years, 25 years, until they overthrew the Shah of Iran. But the hatred, and I'll land here, the hatred.
It's always been a monarchy. It's just a change that happened right now.
So you're saying there was nobody, there was no elected official
So they would all be
by the people? I'm asking the question. Was there an elected official by the people? Was there? So there was no voting.
like they have a monarchy in the UK, but it's not an absolute. That's what we're explaining to you.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, was there an electric voting system at that particular time? Was there somebody that was electorally voted in to be the prime minister over the people? You keep going back to the monarchy. I'm trying to ask you. I'm not. Go ahead. Okay, but I'm asking, was there ever a democracy type of government, even with the parliament? Because we have that, we got Congress. Okay, but bottom line, was there ever a democracy where there was a deciding vote by the people of Iran, where they would elect a prime minister? I understand that when you go to 1908 and 1907, there was a dictatorship at that particular time. That's how the governments, European governments, including America, was able to get inside of Iran. I'm talking about, is there a democracy that was formulated and that was done ever during that time from 1907 all the way to 1953? Was there a time you're trying to escape? You didn't answer my question. That's just like most FBAs try to wipe out the fact, you know what I'm saying, that slavery really did something to us, point blank, and try to wipe out the previous history before FBA, before America. That's what
Reza Shah was the former foreign minister of that dynasty. Yes. Reza Shah was our minister. Transitional period between culture and
What do you mean?
the transitional period that the first minister of war became prime minister. Then they chose him to become the king, but he wanted to be the prime minister. They were fighting inside that nationalist. It was a conditional national assembly, and there was a convention there. That and they chose based on the what I heard.
That's also correct.
And the transitional period was much more safer than what Reza did. It was a sort of war. Pros and cons. Most of them has advantages and disadvantages.
Well, the fact is that in the aftermath, the democratic experiment did not survive. By August 1953, it stated, the internal political friction combined with a covert joint operation by the CIA and British intelligence, Operation AJAX,
That was from the culture dialogue. He was a PhD of law.
Any other comments? All right, I'll just keep playing, and we'll break into it. So. in reserves, ceasefire, or this period since the major combat operations ended, which has now been going on for months. Iran has been able to dig out some of the things that they intentionally buried during the conflict or during combat, and then in some cases they've been able to dig out some things that were buried by U.S. and Israeli strikes. They've been able to move things around, to reconstitute a little bit. They were very badly damaged militarily, but they were not completely destroyed. So the question is, what will an offensive posture look like? Now, it will likely, just if any pattern we've seen them do over the last several weeks, they'll probably continue to lash out inside the Strait of Hormuz. The concern is that they will lash out against U.S. allies and U.S. installations in the region, as we have also seen them do in recent weeks and months. The question is the scale. How big will they go here? Or will their offensive posture just be a posture waiting on U.S. or Israeli action?
And part of the administration's lawyer was to try and isolate Iran, cut them off from the rest of the world. But our colleague Dan Ellis is reporting that Russia is actually supplying Iran with explosives and other weapons components. What can you tell us about Moscow's basically implicit, involvement in this war, especially because the president claims to have
not at all surprising. The pretty sometimes non-lethal capabilities to U.S. adversaries. He likes to sow chaos here. What's really complicated about this situation, though, is if the U.S. were to complain and say, Vladimir Putin, Russia, you need to stop providing lethal components or any kind of lethal aid to Iran that could be used against U.S. and U.S. allies. Well, Putin could turn around and say, well, the U.S. and allies have to stop providing lethal components to Ukraine that they're using against Russian soldiers here. And then what does the U.S. say about that? It's true that the U.S. is not directly providing weapons and equipment the way that they were under President Biden, but they are still selling them to NATO, which is this NATO component that's providing it to Ukraine. So that is a very difficult issue for the United States to have to deal with right now, and some NATO allies as well.
Thanks for that. Up next, I'm one-on-one with a Democratic challenger in
territory, I promise.
She was clearly a Democrat.
Thank you, Peter. Right.
District that has an 11-term incumbent, Democrat Schultz running in it. That's the primary where the debate on redistricting and diversity in Congress is front and center. Former Broward County Mayor Dale Hollis is standing by. Don't go anywhere. This is Meet the President. Welcome back. We are turning our attention back to Florida, where redistricting has scrambled today's primaries, including the 20th congressional district, where a crowded field of Democrats is looking to unseat 11-term Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The 20th district has long been represented by a black Democrat, and her decision to run there after her current district was essentially eliminated as it angered some candidates and black leaders in the party. Joining me now is one of the candidates in that race, the former Broward County Mayor Dale Hollis. Mayor, thank you for being here. Voting is already underway. Just talk to me about how you're feeling about this race. What's your message to folks who may have not gone to the polls yet?
Well, I was actually out at the polls. I came in to do this. You see me dressed in my uniform for getting voters up. Those who have not come out yet need to know that their vote is their voice. And if they want to have a voice in what happens in our country, they need to be at the polls voting. It's a bit slow, but people are coming out now. Today we're pushing, we're making phone calls. I was out at several of the voting sites where unfortunate that it seems more expedient to come into this race. And by the way, we're all in the same boat for a long time today. Both of us trying to get votes.
Well, let's talk about the Congresswoman's role in all of this. She's gotten quite a bit of pushback from this decision, but she's trying to make the argument that she would bring her congressional experience and her seniority to the seat. What would your response be to that?
My response would be that's why she should have run in 22, because that could help the Democrats take the House back and make Keith Jeffries the Speaker of the House. She is more poised because she had more money. She raised $3.3 million. I raised the most at almost $400,000. No one else raised or had that much money in order to take on District 22, where Republican will now probably have a better chance. Had she ran there, would have kept that seat and pushed back on Trump and DeSantis' effort to reduce people's choice as to who their representative is for those two districts.
All right, let's talk about representation. And obviously, there's a concern about the lack or the dwindling number of African Americans in Congress. I know it's something the Congressional Black Caucus is very concerned about, especially given recent court rulings. In this situation here, do you think it was a missed opportunity for you and the other black candidates in the race to not consolidate around a single candidate? I know there were discussions about that. Do you wish that you had done that to provide a better shot at an African American winning this race?
You're absolutely right. And in those meetings, I offered to be the person who would step out if data showed that I was a weaker candidate than any of the others. In fact, at the time, I had $312,000 in the account. No one else had more than $23,000. That facing someone with at the time $28 million, that didn't make sense. There was no polling data that showed me behind. I actually qualified by petition, which means the community signed documents to say I should be the one. None of the others had that. I have the experience of being the mayor of Broward County. 2 million people at the time of COVID. Saving lives. We have less deaths in Broward County than they did in Miami-Dade or Palm Beach County because I bring communities together, leaders from every segment of our community to face that virus down and to ensure that we save lives and protect livelihoods at the same time, not shutting down our county totally.
Let's talk about redistricting. That's obviously played such a significant role in this race and other races around Florida. It's going to have an impact on who holds the majority at the end of these midterms. We've seen other blue states respond by gerrymandering their states to make their districts more favorable to Democrats. Do you think that's the right response, or should there be some sort of even perhaps federal level intervention to prevent this mid-decade redistricting and try and move toward a more independent redistricting effort?
Well, I think that what we're doing as a nation is not the right thing. We shouldn't be choosing who the voters are. We should allow them to choose us. So I would say both of us. But as a Democrat, you can't surrender to what the other side does. You have to go fight back. And that's what the Democrats are doing. We didn't initiate this war of redistricting or gerrymandering. They did. And for us to then lay down our arms and say we won't do anything makes no sense to me as a Democrat. We need to have people in office that
I think most people are rolling their eyes. Most people are questioning it. It's some of the people who are most loyal to the president. I think when he cites the travel exemption for himself, saying people like me who travel, it just doesn't ring, true. It doesn't ring like that really makes sense because we know he travels easily. He has planes, multiple at his beck and call. He can get to Florida, probably wheels up the wheels down in 3 hours. It does it frequently. He's voted by mail while still in Florida. So I think the attacks on voting by mail look to be about something different than just, feeling like it's fraudulent. If you really believe that, and you can vote in person if you wanted to, you would. He does not.
So let me try to frame this question for you a little bit differently because when you talk to the president, he argues that part of the reason that Republican voters aren't enthusiastic about this election is because they can't get the Save America Act passed. that he's going to work for a Democrat. And Ferdinand himself has not endorsed Paxton. He was obviously very critical of Paxton during the primary. Could there be a little bit of dissension in the Republican ranks?
I mean, I think it's shrewd on Talarico's behalf because it shows that he's trying to have messaging, have outreach that speaks to Republican voters. He is hoping that there are Republicans who are Gordon supporters who don't think they can stomach voting for Paxton. Could they consider maybe voting for a Democrat in November? That's what he's portraying by hiring this former Gordon aide, and by Gordon saying, "Hey, I'm not mad at him for doing it." It indicates that there are Republicans who still have concerns about Paxton's electability, and not just his electability, but they have concerns about what type of senator Paxton would be, and are saying maybe we do need to look at the other guy.
All right, Sanjay, I want to close on this, and I want to put up this poll from Reuters about which party has a better plan for voters who view this on healthcare. Voters are saying Democrats have an 18-point advantage. Their cost of living, they're up, the economy, they're up. Republicans are up on immigration, but only by a little bit, and Republicans own crime. When I talk to Democrats, the biggest thing they say is my party going to mess this up? How can your party mess up these numbers heading into this fall election?
These are some pretty good numbers. They definitely make me smile. But no, I definitely feel good about the midterms. Just even looking at the primaries and elections that we had last year, we are doing really well, letting people know that what is happening in the White House is bad. It's not benefiting you. We have a plan. But most importantly, they're messaging directly to the people in their district, and that's important.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much. To you, Sanjay, really great conversation still to come.
I fell out that room. Oh God. It was like perfect timing because I thought it was over. I was like, oh. Like, I'm in the hallway. Any comments, guys? I think it's really I also think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that he went and told them. And they were like, it's okay. It's, you would think you'd be like, fuck, we got to stay in Texas, keep Texas red. But a lot of people don't like Texas. Any other comments,
of our current state attorney general. But he has, when I say the man has 50 lives, I have never, ever seen a politician more resourceful, and counted out and come back from the dead than Ken Paxton. It's been absolutely unbelievable. But real quick, in the chat, it's okay, Quinn, my God. Quinn is super gracious. Quinn is like the unhappiest person of all time. In the chat, because Elmon will ask when he comes back on the phone. I put in, it wasn't hard to find, but those are the declassified documents from the CIA, which will be declassified by the Obama administration 13 years ago. August 19, 2013, they declassified the documents which state explicitly that the United States and the British were involved in a coup. And what has also come out, which I didn't know, just learned it in reading this, the British, for a long time, didn't want us to release this information. We were going to release it before, but the British didn't, it was a
the idea that a monarch exercises his constitutional right to dismiss the prime minister who had dissolved the parliament as a coup is absurd. You can't explain it. Nobody can. So the characterization is just wrong. I'm not that sorry. I have to point that out to you over and over. So whatever document you're reading, you'll have to explain how the monarch dismissing the prime minister who had dissolved the parliament, monarch exercising his constitutional power somehow. You'll have to explain that.
What did you just say? That a monarch? I don't know. I don't even understand what you're saying. But the CIA calls it a coup. The Central Intelligence Agency in MI6 explicitly said it was a coup. And it was considered a great success. And it was the catalyst for other coups. It was the model for other coups that later took place in South America and other. But that was what our own government said. So dispute them facts.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in the middle of getting some. The legitimate monarch of a country, that's the Shah, exercising his constitution to dismiss the prime minister is a coup. When the Shah was in power all along, and the prime minister had just dissolved the parliament. You'll have to explain to me what makes that a coup. You can't explain it. Whatever you're looking at doesn't explain it. This is a mischaracterization of history.
Yeah, I don't know, I wasn't there, but the craziness that you will even argue against the United States, which covered this up for a time. And now 60 years later after that.
Don't not you, nor the Lord. You're not Elena. Don't play point for us.
Do what? I don't know.
You cannot comment on behalf of us from our side. Don't suggest anything for me to advise me anything to do or something, for example, out of your position. Let's just say your position, compare position. You don't need to be humiliated to find your position. You are a big grown man, find your.
Yeah, I'm not talking about from the Iranian side. I'm talking about from what the United States government disclosed in our own documents and what we say that we admitted that we did, which was create a coup to overthrow the leader of Iran at the time and to install the Shah, who then in turn became a brutal dictator. That's exactly what happened, and we did it. We did it because
no, it was really and because of suggestion of France and they were allies with the Shah. They promised. They are not in position, for example, the Democrats should play on behalf of Iranians. What I should do if I don't do, if I am not an Iranian. You see yourself in that position. That is my biggest pain in my ass. You say that if I don't say like you, then I am not Iranian. You know, that is a very big fucking thing for me to do. I cannot tolerate this. I'm not sure if you can stand. If somebody come to you, if I am not an Iranian, come to you. This is the thing to do for the best party. What do you say in that moment? You are like that for me now. I'm not sure what to say to you.
what did you do?
Oh, he was telling Peter to behave.
the set. I don't know anything about the set. You know, the only thing I know is that, you know, Alexander went through Babylon when he was going through Persia. That's like the extent of knowledge. But in all seriousness, no, I wasn't talking about. No, Peter, I don't have anything against you, my brother. I think that you're a very good person.
I promise, but you are overestimating. Interesting from me what you know.
Yeah.
Okay. I have always believed it as an alien, either inside even outside. I have lived those lives. That is not for your experience. For example, if I tell you with your calendar will you be, what do you say to me? That one. I don't have any idea.
Peter, all he did, hold on 1 second, Peter. All he did was talk about information that our government released. I mean, if you're saying it's not true, or yeah, he didn't do anything wrong. He said there's a link in the chat about the documents and how the United States and the United Kingdom.
That might be wrong. This is also irrelevant to the situation, current situation that's happening now. That some other hostile power is conquering the land and threatening the world. That this is my hostage and we cannot do anything. This is the biggest threat for the world, international stability and international terrorism. Plus, if you see the minimum income of the people inside Iran and compare it to minimum universal income suggested by the UN, you would see that how they are living. If they want to change or not, this is some kind of history which is irrelevant to the current situation.
Moving right along. And it ain't a nervous thing. It's actually funny sometimes. It's funny to me, like when we sit up here and, like you said, deny things that the government has denied. And this is, I won't go into aliens, but this kind of goes in the same thing. Like when the government has hidden things for years, and now they're coming out and saying, okay, this is what we've been hiding, and people like El Normo will sit there and say, no, that's not true. That's not true.
The government didn't deny it.
Didn't deny what?
The government has released, like, we have declassified files now. And then there's excerpts from the diary, the president's diary. So, like, yeah.
The government denied it for years until the declassification.
It's top secret. It's related to
There's no beef with that. There's no beef with that. There's no beef with covert actions. We don't need to know that. I agree with you, sis. Like, yeah, while it's going down, all this is based on some real, some real data, and yeah, we don't need to know that because y'all know people. Sorry.
support and as much hatred has ginned up against the Iranian people as has been over the past, how long I've been alive, 40 years, right?
No, it's not the same argument. The reason why representations, I think, was the reason. Some wrong people represented my language.
The reason why we had things like the Sheikh, and we were told, or people in the East in the 70s or 80s were told that they needed to hate the Iranian people, that they were terrible people, and that we should support Saddam Hussein, who could give him weapons of mass destruction. We later called them gas weapons, so that they could kill nearly 1 million Iranians. We told them that it was because the Iranian people were terrible. We did not tell the people at the time that we instituted a coup to get oil. And so if we had been clear and told people exactly why there were people in Iran didn't like the United States, and that we had installed a purple dictator that was keeping oil from the rest of the country and only enriching the people around him, that would have probably created a different narrative, and maybe we wouldn't be in the situation we are in today.
Is he presently in his country? Sounds like he's...
Whatever you heard, for example, from the news or something, for example, that was about me too, say, I am not familiar with something weird when I made it. At first, you make some supposed things, default things, there are some default things, How do you know? What's the source? The source is
So the Shah was, I didn't do that rather recently either. But the Shah was doing terrible things to a lot of the Iranian people. Prior to 1953, I really don't know. It's hard to put that face on it.
I can't speak to 1955. But for Islamic nation, we can't understand what you're saying. For the transition in 1925, there were a couple of years of transition. It was not sudden. But for the takeover of after Islamic and establishing the Islamic nation, was the same for taking over easier than others. For example, because there some time that there were no law enforcement, and they did what they could. And the work was much more manual than today. It was like the system was. And so it happened for the support of the president and the Francis president. Some people should speak to me, not sure what they say to them. Because they request, I don't know. You understand it now, alright? Don't you regret that you lost your biggest ally, one of your biggest allies? Honestly, don't you regret?
And so what I do know to you is that it was wrong of the United States and Britain to depose a leader for oil. And had bad towards those people. That's what's important about our history is how we color it, and we don't tell the people the truth until 60 years later, and then we still have people like a normal that deny that it even happened.
What he just claimed did not happen. Did you hear it, bro?
The coup didn't happen. That was orchestrated by the CIA. That these documents are fake that they've released. Is that what you're saying?
I think that the spirit of the what is your concern? What is your main concern? The spirit of Iran would have been much easier conflict with the regime of Pahlavi. But it was the international sword, I think. During that time of Cold War, Russia was increasing its power toward the war, and United States were the they swapped it because Iran was near Russia and Cuba was near the United States. There's a strategic neighborhood, and they changed that permanently. Now I'm not sure they know what they need, or they would have limited that disaster.
Still a question. Are you calling?
Don't you
So, are you saying that these documents that have been released by the CIA are fake?
No, actually something much simpler. And Peter tried to tell you as well. You're speaking out of ignorance.